was no attempt in humor at all in what he said. And as a matter of fact, it was a lie. Now, as you pointed to, Will, since the 1960s, you have to get a license to broadcast. This isn't Netflix. This isn't cable. This is broadcast TV. And when you have broadcast TV, you have to, the airwaves are owned by the public.
Why do they think that just because you have a Tonight Show that you must deal in serious issues? That's a danger. It's a real danger. Once you start that, you start to get that self-important feeling that what you say has great import. And you know, strangely enough, you could use that show as a forum. You could sway people, and I don't think you should as an entertainer.
Rob Schneider has jumped into the Jimmy Kimmel controversy, and his response is brutal. The comedy legend went after the left's late-night figure over his ABC firing, and the woke crowd was completely unprepared. Many expected Rob, as a fellow comedian, to side with Kimmel, but instead he delivered verbal blows that left everyone stunned. This was no gentle critique. It was a full-on comedic attack. Get ready, because this takedown is unforgettable.
And comedian Rob Schneider. Rob, it's great to see you here today. Are you chilled? Are you in fear for the future of comedy and free speech?
Well, Will, first of all, I woke up this morning to the incredible shock that apparently TV shows are not guaranteed in our Constitution. I mean, wow. So that was tough to swallow. First,
Rob Schneider unleashed his first strike by roasting Kimmel and the left with a harsh truth. TV shows aren't written into the Constitution. No matter how loudly the woke crowd cries about free speech, it doesn't guarantee a comfortable network paycheck. You can say whatever you want, but networks have every right to cut you off if your words threaten their profits. Rob didn't stop there. He piled on with sharp sarcasm, mocking the left's meltdown over Kimmel's firing. With sniper-like precision, he reminded everyone that the First Amendment only shields you from government censorship, not from your employer deciding you're bad for business. In other words, if you want to spout nonsense and keep your job, you better own the network, because until then, private companies decide who stays and who goes. Rob made sure the woke crowd understood that loud and clear, and he still had more to say.
second, I'm still waiting for the left, the liberals, to get outraged about Roseanne getting fired for her free speech. And then I'm also waiting, I've been waiting a long time for the left and the Democrats, especially the Democrats on Capitol Hill, for the Twitter files that released that the Biden-Harris administration was actually using the government to pressure Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and especially Twitter to actually censor actual Americans through government pressure.
Rob hit another hard-hitting point by asking where the left's outrage was when Roseanne Barr was fired from ABC over her comments about Valerie Jarrett. Silence. Crickets. Not a single tear from the same crowd now clutching their pearls over Jimmy Kimmel. Rob isn't defending Roseanne's remarks. He acknowledges they were wrong, but he's exposing blatant hypocrisy. If the left had no issue watching ABC fire one of its biggest sitcom stars for misstepping, why suddenly scream injustice when Kimmel faces the same fate? You can't cheer the firing of someone you dislike and then cry foul when it happens closer to home. Rob's point is simple yet devastating. Standards should be consistent. Otherwise, it's not about principles, it's about politics. He made sure the woke crowd understood that hypocrisy is the ultimate punch.
What you have here is you have capitalist pressure. Capitalist pressure is really important because what happens is you have to make money or you have to do something of value so that you can get something in return. Now, the interesting thing is it's false advertising because honestly, look, Jimmy Kimmel can be funny, and I don't mean to take anything away from that, but the fact of the matter, can you remember a political joke that went viral, what was something really funny of his? There was no attempt in humor at all in what he said.
Rob reminded the woke crowd that Biden and Harris once pushed much harder through the government, pressuring social media platforms to censor speech. He pointed to the Twitter battle with Elon Musk, which ended with the world's richest man buying Twitter, and to how Meta, Facebook's parent company, used fact-checkers to flag or suppress information. These mechanisms, all put in place by the left, set the precedent. Yet today, the same voices cry foul because one of their favorites is caught in a trap they helped create. Rob isn't denying that misinformation can be harmful. He's calling for consistency. If you supported society policing content when the pressure came from your side, you can't act shocked when the same tools are used against someone you like. Hypocrisy, he insists, is on full display.
And as a matter of fact, it was a lie. Now, as you pointed to, Will, since the 1960s, you have to get a license to broadcast. This isn't Netflix, this isn't cable, this is broadcast TV. And when you have broadcast TV, you have to, the airwaves are owned by the public. And to get that license, you have to be in the interest, like you said, of the public. And so that's why when there's a news van parked in the white zone, they don't get a ticket, because they are there to present news to inform the public in the public interest. So what happens is 25% originally was supposed to be the news to inform it, just to get that license. So when you absolutely lie to the public, then you are no longer in the public interest, like Jimmy Kimmel did the other night.
And this is exactly what the woke mob refuses to understand. Jimmy Kimmel wasn't some innocent victim of censorship. He misled the public on a major broadcast network. And when you play that game, there are consequences. No one forced him to speak. There was no gun to his head, and no executive demanded he dive into the controversy. Kimmel had every chance to let it slide, or at least double-check the facts before speaking on national television. But he didn't. He went for the cheap laugh, the partisan jab, and in doing so, he gambled with his own career. Spreading misinformation knowingly isn't just joking. It erodes trust in the very platform that pays you. That's not free speech under attack. It's accountability. Rob's point is clear. Kimmel set himself up, and the fallout was entirely self-inflicted.
And actually, it was something dangerous. So with the FCC chairman, he didn't say that he was going to pull the license. He was going to give them a warning and ask for an apology, what I understood on the Benny Johnson show. And so that's not the government doing it. And when 246 different stations around the country say we're no longer airing this, it's because they heard from their consumers. They heard from their customers. And they said, that's it. We're not doing it. And so Nexstar, who's a great guy over there, Sean Compton, said, that's it. He's the CEO, and said, when we have complaints like this, and none of the channels, 246.
Rob then dismantled another convenient lie that the government somehow orchestrated Jimmy Kimmel's firing. According to Schneider, that story is pure fantasy. The reality is simple. ABC made the call. The network was unhappy with Kimmel's on-air comments, and they had every right to protect their brand. In fact, Rob noted that the FCC wasn't even planning to sanction ABC over the remarks. At most, they would have asked for a simple apology and moved on. But ABC executives weren't interested in half measures. They found Kimmel's words distasteful, reckless, and damaging to the network's credibility. So they did what any corporation would do: they cut ties. This wasn't government censorship, it wasn't political persecution, it was a business decision. Rob's point was unmistakable. Kimmel's downfall wasn't a grand conspiracy, it was the result of his own words clashing with ABC's bottom line.
And I would just like to say this in defense of people who can get absolutely entrapped into this political echo chamber. And that's what happened to, I mean, in my opinion, what happened to Jimmy Kimmel. I heard him talking on some podcast with another comedian, and it's easy to get trapped in your political echo chamber.
And that is exactly what happened to Jimmy Kimmel. What started as a harmless jab at Trump and MAGA quickly escalated into something far bigger and more toxic. At first, it was just easy laughs and cheap one-liners that resonated with his audience. But soon, Kimmel wasn't just telling jokes, he was repeating the same lines you'd hear on cable news. He drifted further into the political echo chamber, surrounding himself with voices that only reinforced his own bias. Instead of using his platform to spark meaningful conversation, he closed the door on debate entirely. There was no curiosity, no willingness to consider the other side, no balance. Kimmel stopped being a comedian who entertained everyone and became a partisan mouthpiece catering to one camp, and in the end, that's what doomed him. He traded humor for politics, and the audience noticed.
You're absolutely right about you have to bring value to your employer. You also have to serve, as you pointed out with the FCC's regulation, the public interest. Now, no one denies that you or Jimmy Kimmel can have your opinion, but it's where you use that opinion and on what platform. And there was a time, Rob, when late night hosts seemed to understand that balance a little bit better. And I just wanted to, with you and our viewers, remember together Johnny Carson.
True. television hosts must recognize the weight of their platform, because whatever they say or do, especially on public networks, isn't just casual banter, it carries real influence. Their jokes, announcements, statements, and criticisms reach far beyond the studio audience, echoing into millions of living rooms across the country. With that reach comes responsibility. This isn't about silencing humor or stripping away personality. It's about making sure commentary is rooted in truth and serves the broader public interest, not a narrow political agenda. When hosts tailor their monologues to please one side, they stop being entertainers and become propagandists, and that's when trust erodes. A truly great TV host can critique both sides when needed, delivering laughs and insights without turning their stage into a campaign rally. Balance doesn't mean bland, it means fair. And in today's climate, fairness is both rare and invaluable.
They think that just because you have a Tonight Show that you must deal in serious issues. That's a danger. It's a real danger. Once you start that, you start to get that self-important feeling that what you say has great import. And you know, strangely enough, you could use that show as a forum. You could sway people, and I don't think you should as an entertainer.
Johnny Carson set the gold standard for late-night television, and his legacy shows what those shows were truly about: entertainment. Carson could cover anything, even politics, while keeping it light, funny, and enjoyable for everyone. He knew people tuned in at the end of a long day to laugh, not to be lectured. Fast forward to today, and the landscape has changed completely. Nearly every late-night talk show has become a political platform, more focused on pushing agendas than delivering jokes. And their favorite target, Donald Trump. Night after night, monologues feel less like comedy routines and more like campaign speeches filled with predictable talking points. The result? Viewers aren't laughing. They're rolling their eyes. Carson entertained America, today's hosts divide it. And that's why the magic of late night now feels like a thing of the past.
I agree with Johnny 100%. Well, Johnny Carson was unique in the sense that you don't really know if he leaned left or right. Sometimes he leaned left, sometimes he leaned right, but he was there to get laughs, and he realized what people wanted to do. And I remember, like, as you know, when we were little kids, climbing into our mom and daddy's bed when they let us stay up late on a Friday, and we'd watch Johnny Carson, we'd all laugh together because Johnny was there to entertain.
At the end of the day, Rob Schneider's takedown of Jimmy Kimmel wasn't just about one comedian losing a job. It was about exposing double standards, hypocrisy, and the decline of modern entertainment. Rob reminded the woke crowd that free speech doesn't mean freedom from consequences, especially on a public broadcast network. He highlighted the selective outrage, silence when Roseanne Barr was fired, but uproar when Kimmel faced the same fate. He pointed out how the left supported government pressure on social media to censor speech, yet complained when the same trap affected their own. Amid it all, Johnny Carson's legacy looms large, showing that late night once made America laugh rather than divide. That's the real lesson Kimmel's downfall should teach. And that brings us to the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.